I started dancing pretty late for a dancer,
Hey, how were
Yeah,
you? Were you 18? How old were you when you started?
I was like 23 when I started like
Okay,
actually,
sure enough.
yeah, training.
Okay.
Um, and like I said, I remember being in this club in Guatemala and just like knowing in that moment I wanted to be a professional salsa dancer. And
Okay.
like this was 2010, like the internet didn't exist as it does now. There weren't tons of YouTube videos and
Right, right, right.
right? Like I remember spending hours and hours in my dorm room, like Googling salsa and like Googling anything I could possibly think of and finding very little information online. So
Everyone. On today's episode of the Two Left Feet podcast, we had on the incredibly amazing Brielle Friedman, who is an amazing salsa performer, dancer, teacher. Man, she does it all, man. Great episode, man, where we talk about her beginner stage. She does so much traveling, man. So she's experienced so much, man. If you're interested in just hearing about her stories of traveling, man, this is a cool episode. Great episode. We talk about that. We talk about her blog, Vitamin B. Cool episode. I'm so glad I got to have her on the show, man. Let's just jump right into it. Hey, all right. So I am now on the line with a Miss Brielle Friedman. So you are a salsa teacher and a performer, as well as a writer, a marketing consultant, and you're currently living in New York City. Is that correct?
yes, yeah, I live in
Hey,
Brooklyn.
sure enough, sure enough. So you first started dancing back in 2010. Is that right?
Yeah, 2010 is when I first discovered salsa. I was traveling in Guatemala for the summer. I went to a
Right.
Spanish language school and I just, went to a salsa club, tried it out, and really fell in love with it.
Sure enough, sure enough. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're currently living in New York City. I think you were born in Florida, is that right?
I was born
Uh-huh.
in Florida. I've been in New
Sure.
York for almost 4 years now.
Okay. And you are the creator of Vitamin D, which is a blog dedicated to salsa in your life. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I've written a lot about dance, both on my blog and then for some other publications within the community, a site called Social Dance Community,
Okay.
International Salsa Magazine, and yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. So I really want to know, I guess, how long did you live in Florida is my first question.
So yeah, I lived in Florida from the time I was 2 years old to 18, and
Okay.
then
That's where you're from then,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I grew up. I mean, that's why I love the summer in New York because I am really like raised in Florida. I love the sunshine. I love warm weather. New York
Ah,
winters are still kind of hard for
yeah.
me.
Oh yeah, my mom's from New York, so I know it snows feet in New York.
Yeah, yeah. It's just so cold. You have to spend so much time. I love walking everywhere. That's really nice. But you like put on all these layers, and I'm like, I can't move. And then I have to take all the layers off when you get inside because
Yeah,
of
yeah.
yeah, I hate it.
So real quick though, what part of Florida are you from?
Naples is on the southwest.
Okay, Naples. All right. I'm curious. Well, then tell me, what was your childhood like growing up in Florida, in Naples, Florida?
Yeah. It was in some ways it was like kind of like your general, very typical suburban childhood.
Huh?
I went to the same school from the time I was in pre-kindergarten to the time I was in 12th grade. It was a really small school. There were about 250 people in our high school class and about 54 in my graduating class. Really, really loved school and kind of always did well in school. I was involved with everything. um, yeah, and then my parents are divorced. They got divorced when I was
Okay.
um, 9, 10. They had a pretty like complicated, messy separation, and yeah, my I didn't see my dad or my sister for like 2 years in high school. They moved out to Seattle, and like that was really tough.
Real
Um,
quick, I'm curious. How did they determine? I guess who killed who? How did that work out?
um,
I guess that's just between them. I guess then.
no, no. I mean, it was really complicated. There's a
That
lot
is.
of there's a very like complicated
I
environment.
understand. I understand.
Um, yeah, I think, you know, my they split custody. There was like a lot of
Okay.
court
I understand.
stuff.
For sure. No worries. No worries. I
Yeah,
understand. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I think that it's really interesting that you ask about like growing up and like what my childhood was like, because I feel like that's a lot of like what has like come through my dancing as an adult
Hey,
in a
yeah,
way.
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that really, like, as I started to dance, and especially in performing, because in performances, like, everything comes up on stage,
Right.
right? Like, there's just like no hiding anything. And there were a lot of there's a lot of like physical and emotional abuse in my childhood as well. And a lot of
Okay.
that I thought I had worked out as a young adult. And like, when I turned 18, I went to college. I just sort of like got as far away as possible from everything as I could.
Mm.
And there was like a lot of like pain and hurt and stuff that I like hadn't processed. And then after school, after I graduated, like I worked with a therapist, and like, I started telling these stories of what had happened that I never told anyone, right? Like as a kid, um, I really wanted to, I lived with my mom for most of the time, and I really wanted to protect her. It was really hard for me to like be open about these things. So I did therapy, and that was helpful. And then like, I was like, okay, I'm done. Like I've done all of this. And then a few years later, it started showing up in all of my dancing again. So I really had to go
Mm.
back and, yeah, spend a lot of emotional, like do a lot of emotional work, kind of like deep
I'm,
work that I
I'm
say.
curious if you could tell me what you can you describe why do you think it came back in your dance? Like how were you able to notice it coming back in your dances?
Yeah. So, I think a big thing for me in my artistic journey is I started dancing pretty late for a dancer.
Hey, how were
Yeah,
you? Were you 18? How old were you when you started?
I was like 23 when I started like
Okay,
actually,
sure enough.
yeah, training.
Okay.
Um, and like I said, I remember being in this club in Guatemala, and just like knowing in that moment I wanted to be a professional salsa dancer. And
Okay.
like this was 2010, like the internet didn't exist as it does now. There weren't tons of YouTube videos and right?
Right.
Like I remember spending hours and hours in my dorm room, like Googling salsa and like Googling anything I could possibly think of, and finding very little information online. So, um, I had no idea this whole world existed. I didn't know what it would mean to be a dancer. I just knew that like something inside of me like wanted to do that so
Yeah.
strongly. Yeah. But I definitely had a lot of limiting beliefs around starting so late and feeling like, I missed out on all of this, and I'll never be um, enough of an artist, like
Mm.
creative enough, like skilled enough technical wise, because I started, at 23 years old and not 10 or not
Ah,
16.
I mean, yeah, I know people who started, yeah, since they were youth, very young.
Yeah, yeah,
I think you're a testament that it's never too late though, right?
it's never too late. And it's something that like seeing my own progress as a dancer in the past 5 or 6 years like has really changed the way I think about everything, but
Yeah,
especially that it's never too late. You just have to you have to put in the work. You have to
of
put in the
course,
time
of
to
course.
put in the work. Like, yeah, you can't just like snap your fingers and magically it happens, but anything, I like truly believe anything is possible. And yeah, it really is never too late.
I said I started dancing when I was like 20 or 21.
Yeah,
So I'll be 28 this year. But I definitely understand like that feeling of like maybe starting too late when you look around
yeah.
and see all these amazing people. But yeah, it's never too late.
It isn't. Yeah, and it's, our society has such an like obsession, I think, sometimes on youth and usefulness, and these stories are very sensationalized in the media around like, someone founding a company when they're like 16, 18, 21, and then like you get out of college, and for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I didn't do this, this, and this, like that's it. Like you have most of
Right.
your
Hey, but
life
you think you have to
left.
have everything figured out though. But it's not
Yeah.
really like that. Everyone has their own, I guess, path, right?
It's not like that. Yeah. And I think that your path in life just goes like this, right? Like
I
there's
don't know.
no linear upward progression. There's no right path. There's just like what you want and what brings you joy, and like your
Yeah.
own, what I would call like alignment, like doing what's right for you. And that's different for everyone. And so it's hard, especially as a young person, I think, when you get a lot of advice that comes from very well meaning places, but comes from someone who isn't you and doesn't have the same.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about this. 'Cause if I'm not mistaken, you did a lot of traveling, I guess, when you were younger, right? I guess your
Yes.
parents.
Yeah.
How how did that, I guess, influence you? Because me personally, I didn't really travel a lot when I was younger. So
Yeah.
how did that affect you growing up? You being able to see different places and everything.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of the things I really give my parents a lot of, like I really respect them. They waited to have, they were married for like 20, 14, 15 years before I was born. So they really waited to have kids because they wanted to be able to travel with us and take us places, expose us to different cultures. And they wanted to have like the means, the financial means to be able to do that. So yeah, I did a lot of traveling growing up, and I did a lot of traveling like with other teenagers in high school, and those were really formative experiences for me. I think in like the biggest way possible, it just really taught me, just like we're all human beings, and
Right.
I think that that's one of the most beautiful things about being part of the salsa world is like everyone comes to dance in this one
Oh
place. So
no,
we,
yeah.
yeah, we all this love for this dance, and you don't need language to communicate. You're just communicating with your eyes and
I
your
would
touch.
say it's probably its own form of communication,
It
dancing,
is.
right?
Yeah, it's its
Right.
own language. And I love that aspect of it. I think that's just so, so beautiful. Yeah, and so I think traveling gave me a lot of that at a very young age, right? Like learning to communicate when you don't speak the same language, seeing how, um, yeah, like, I think it's so important to treat every single person you come into contact, like as a person, right? Like even when I talk to someone, when you have to call the airline and like airline is like messy, or you have to call someone about like your cable bill and they misbilled you, it's like I will be so nice on the phone because like you are a human being and like
Right,
it's not
right.
your fault. Like, you know what I mean? I think that is a really cool aspect of, yeah, salsa. You can go out wherever you are in the world and salsa dancers will welcome you and be like, let's dance, let's do this
Yeah.
shared thing. And I got that from travel.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Tell me, I believe, tell me about your trip to Guatemala. How did that impact you?
Yeah. I mean, it's the reason I dance. I think
Okay.
in the biggest way possible. It
So
was
was that
yeah,
was that I guess how old were you then? Was that like high school, college? Where were you at?
it was college. It was after my sophomore year of college,
Okay,
so I
okay,
was
okay.
20. Yeah, 20. And I had taken so in middle school and high school, I studied French, and I that was like my language in school. And in college, I took this really good history class. It was like intro to Latin American history or something with a professor at Brown that was just like everyone loved, and everyone would talk about this class. So I took this class and I loved the class. I loved him. It was so interesting. And he had like a separate section where you could read all the original texts in Spanish. And I felt like so left out because I didn't speak Spanish. I
Okay.
went to Guatemala to learn Spanish, and it was super random how I ended up there. Like I met a friend of a friend's family member who happened to tell me at like a funeral that her cousin like went to the Spanish school, and I just literally looked it up online, like booked my class, like enrolled, booked a ticket, and then like I don't even think I told my parents until I was on my way to the airport because I
Okay,
was so
shucks.
nervous that I was going by myself.
I I said I
Yeah.
want to get into that too because I believe you do a lot of solo traveling as well, right?
Yes, yes, we
And
do.
that's that can be very daunting, very scary for some people. But please continue on. We'll get to
Yeah.
that. Please continue about the Guatemala trip.
Well, so that was my first totally solo travel. Like I wasn't with my family, I wasn't with a group of like other teenagers or peers. I wasn't with like a significant other or friend. Like I literally arrived on my own.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, there were definitely times where like it was daunting or like a little
Of
scary.
course, of course.
Yeah, and I really didn't. I mean, looking back, like I really didn't know what I was doing. But I just really do trust in the goodness of people, and you know, like I had the thing is that the other travel experiences, like even going with my family as a kid, and then the travel, they all built on one another. So by the time I
Mhm.
took the trip, I was like, I'm ready for this. And then, as soon as I got there, I met other people and became friends with them, and both other travelers and people who lived in
Yeah,
this town.
yeah, yeah.
So that happens too so easily.
Okay, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me, well, since we're talking about Guatemala, tell me about your beginner stage learning salsa. What was that like for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I was in Guatemala, I think, for 6 weeks, and I only went to the salsa class. Like, I had 2 weeks left, I think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks left. And basically, after I went to the salsa class, I just went to salsa every single day for the rest of my trip. Like that's all I wanted to do, to the point where I ended up like twisting my ankle and I went home in a cast because
Wow. Wow.
I didn't have the right shoes. Like I was just dancing so much. But I just wanted to dance every day. And I went back to college. Well, actually, the semester after that summer, I studied abroad in Paris, and I spent my entire semester abroad looking for salsa
Hey,
classes. Yeah, so I went out dancing in Paris.
is there a salsa scene in Paris?
There is, yeah,
Ah,
there is.
that's awesome.
And it's really cool. It's really cool to see how it's grown too, right?
Mhm.
Like, but there was a salsa community there. I took some classes. I went back to school. I took a couple of classes in Providence with Carlos at Mambo Pati. And I'm actually going back to perform in Providence with my dance partner this summer. So it's like really cool to
Okay,
see that come
that's
full
really cool.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But mainly I was in school and school, I think, and just like I was very involved in campus and involved in classes. And so I also didn't have a ton of money, or really any money in that
Right,
way.
right,
So
right.
that was a big thing. For when I graduated, I knew I wanted to have a job, so that I could invest in classes. And so I started working, and then I spent, yeah, like all of my money on like literally all of my money on dance classes.
Okay.
Yeah, and all of my time too.
And so I'm curious, but
Hey, if you can leave a like and subscribe, that would be amazing for the channel. Let's get back to the video.
and so I'm curious, but what if you go back to that time, I guess, what do you think gave you like such love for it? You know, why do you still enjoy it now? Can you put that into words?
Yeah. I think that like the movement that comes from your own body and like being your own body and moving brings such joy. Like it
Okay.
makes you right. Like I will like dance on the subway to myself with my headphones. Like I'll dance at the street light. Like even when I was a kid, I remember going grocery shopping and I would twirl down the aisles and just like I would dance in the living room. Like I've always loved movement. I think it just brings so much joy. Um, and I do really enjoy performing. I started dancing with a student company in college, and it wasn't salsa. It was more of like lyrical, kind of like hip hop, jazz stuff. But I loved performing on stage, and I think that that is another thing that I knew I really wanted to do with dance. Um, and yeah, just like being able, I think feeling free, right? When you get rid of everything in your head that tells you like, oh, I have to move like this person, or like this isn't right, when you really feel that comfortable in yourself and you're
Yeah.
just moving without thinking, like that is such a sense of freedom. And like we don't get that in a lot of places in life, or really any
Sure
other
enough,
place
yeah.
I can think of. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
true. I think that's why I enjoy dancing as well though, yeah. Cause
Yeah.
like I guess kind of you go somewhere and kind of forget everything else.
You do. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that is really important. And it builds this like deeper connection with yourself. And then it translates into all other aspects of your life.
Hmm.
And that's a really cool thing for me. Like, I had this realization a few weeks ago where I was like, I have danced at least every week, but almost every day my entire adult life. And I've had this other place, this other thing that has helped me like be a better manager in like a professional setting, or like be a better friend and be a better partner. And it's helped me like see, just like dive into all these topics I don't think I would have done otherwise.
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I would say as far as like benefits, I think all that. I think dancing kind of giving me more confidence as well. So I definitely
mm-hmm,
understand that. Yeah, I really
yeah,
appreciate that. I'm so glad. It's like one of the few things I've kind of kept with throughout my whole life. So I'm very
yeah,
appreciative of that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. um
So I want to hear more about your solo traveling though. So I guess what other places
okay.
have you gone? Have you been?
Yeah, one of the coolest places I went on my own was Sri Lanka. That was quite an experience. like really beautiful country, also like very challenging because I didn't speak the language at all. And, it wasn't like if I go to Italy, like I don't speak Italian, but I do speak enough French and Spanish to
Get
like
by, right?
understand a little bit, at least
Right,
like
right,
the
right.
construction. But yeah, in Sri Lanka, I had no reference at
Oh,
all.
wow,
So
that's crazy.
that was crazy. Ended up in some crazy situations. I also went to Bali. That was really beautiful. I've done some traveling. I went to Australia on my own, and that was really cool. I danced
Yeah.
salsa there. That was really fun.
Yeah, Australia has a scene, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I want to, well, I want to do this then. So, like I said earlier, it can be kind of daunting to like go somewhere by yourself. I guess what gives you that confidence to do that? Like, why are you not scared to do that? I guess.
that's a good question.
Is that from your childhood? I guess your parents always taking you places. You like the fear of the unknown. You kind of don't have that as bad.
Um, yeah, I mean I think it's kind of my personality, like my personality, and
Mhm.
um, maybe does come from my environment growing up in that I feel um like there were so many things about my childhood that like didn't have to be that the way that they were,
Okay.
and recognizing that so early on and kind of making a commitment to myself, when I was like 12 or 13, of being like, I don't want to do this in life. Like, there is a way to change whatever it is. It may be hard and complicated, and you might fail the first one, two, three, 4, 5 times, but like there is a different solution. And I think, yeah, from a very young age, I just never wanted to regret something because I didn't try. Um, and I mean, that's like the reason why I dance, or like the reason why I'm still dancing, right? Like there were years where I didn't know if I didn't feel like a dancer, and I didn't feel like I ever was going to be able to dance in the way that I really wanted to. But I just sort of kept going. And I don't know if that was like this gut feeling. I don't know if that was like me being stubborn. I don't know if that was hope or like a dream or what it was. But I think that kind of confidence comes into traveling solo, of not wanting to be like, oh, well, I want to experience this place, or I want to just like see what happens, and kind of trusting that something great and some type of growth will come from it, whether it's like a hard or easy experience. Like I want to experience it, and just being like, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One of the craziest things I ever did was the summer after my junior year of college, I actually lived in the jungle for like 3 months in the
Eh,
middle of the Amazon.
Okay, Amazon. Okay, shut. That is
Yeah,
wild.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a great
That,
story though. That's a great experience.
it's a great story, and it was a great experience. And I learned so much about one, about what I wanted and didn't want in terms of like life, or what sort of like fulfills me as a person. Because when you're in the middle of the jungle, you have so much time to just think, like
Yeah,
you have to
yeah.
find food, but that doesn't take that long. You find food. And then even things like, I remember I brought a couple of books, and I had a journal. I love journaling. And you're like literally in the jungle. So like the paper of the books just disintegrates in the first like 2 days that I'm there. So it's like, okay, like you can't really read, I can't journal. So I just had so much time to myself to think. And that was really powerful, and also really challenging. In life, there are so many things, especially when you live in like, the States. There's so many things that take our attention.
Distractions. Right,
And
right.
just, yeah. And so like when you're really just like in nature by yourself for a very long time, you're like, oh wow, like you just have a different sense of time, I think.
I definitely understand that. I definitely did it. I guess the time slow down or speed up for you. I'm curious.
It feels so much slower. Yeah.
Oh.
This concept of what it of what waiting feels like and what it means to wait. It's funny because living in New York, people always say there are super long lines, and New Yorkers hate lines. And it's true. I hate lines in some ways.
I don't think anyone like enjoys
Anyone
waiting. So
likes,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. No one enjoys waiting. But in the jungle, like, that's what I felt like I was doing every day. And I wasn't sure what I was waiting for. When you're waiting in line,
Right,
waiting in a
right, right,
restaurant, like,
right.
I'm waiting to
You
experience
were
this,
waiting for something. Yeah, yeah.
right? But like, what am I waiting for here? And it's a very different view on life.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of, does it make you, I guess, more present then, in the moment?
Yeah, more present and just like more maybe like what I would say like aligned. There are so many things in life that kind of pull us away from our center. Um, and when it's just you, I think sometimes it's easier to find that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to like picture myself in this situation. I feel like I might go mad just because like I'm so used to like having that feeling of like something needs to be done right now.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too. My friends will joke that like um,
I don't know if that's how
you know,
we type A personalities. I don't even know.
sorry.
I said, are we type A personalities? I'm not even sure.
Have you heard of the type A minus? I think I'm a type A minus.
I've not heard that. I've heard type A, type B. So what is a minus?
Yeah, yeah. A minus is like you're very organized, but then like this happens to me in my apartment where like I'll be working in the living room and I'll go into my bedroom and then I'll go into the kitchen and by the end of the day I have like my laptop in one place and my notebook over here. Like things are everywhere.
I might be like that as well.
Kind
Then,
of like
shucks.
that. Yeah. Or like, yeah, I'm very organized and like I plan everything, everything's on my calendar, but like I missed my flight to Seattle last week. Like, like things like that where they're
I
just,
guess yeah.
yeah. That's
I'm
a
just
sign.
yes. I feel like I hate to say this, it sounds terrible, but like if I'm not doing something, like I might be wasting my time, and I don't know where that comes from, but
Yeah. I mean, I will often feel that way. And something that I'm practicing right now is actually just I don't know, there's a term for it. I'll send you a
mindfulness or
yeah, mindfulness, but also just like being okay with not doing anything and like giving
okay,
more space to sit and like if it's a beautiful day like I can take an hour and just go sit in the park and I don't have to read, I don't have to listen to a podcast, I don't have to like do something productive or that's learned. I can literally just like sit in the sun and that is really important for me as well. um
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
because
that's a different idea, concept. You're right. That's
yeah,
different.
right. And it's different than also being like, oh well, like let me spend time with my friends or the people that I love in my life. Like that's different than just like literally sitting by yourself and um, just being present and like taking in your environment and just like being there.
I
Yeah.
definitely understand that. Yeah,
But yeah, that was a hard part for me of living in the jungle for sure. That was really challenging. And I think, um, physically it was very uncomfortable. Like you have to be covered, fully covered.
yeah. I said with the insects, right, or what?
Right. Yeah. If any part of your skin is showing in
Mosquitoes.
2 minutes, yeah, mosquitoes and these no-see-um bugs, like they'll just like attack you.
Were
So,
you sleeping in a tent? Where were y'all sleeping at?
and we were sleeping in a tent. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So your whole body is covered. So I know you're hot. It's already hot there and humid, right?
You're very hot all the time. You're
Oh my
so
goodness.
uncomfortable. So
Uh,
uncomfortable. And there's also not a lot of space, right? Especially like thinking of
like
dance.
vegetation or what?
Right. It's like all of these trees, all of these um plants, like, but everything is so dense that there's really not a lot
Um,
of space. There's like a space where you're living, and you have your tents or you have like the structure you're living in, but other than that there's not like you can't go for a run, right? There's no space.
okay.
And as a dancer that was hard too. I'm used to moving through any kind of feelings whether they're in my body or in my mind, and I didn't really have that. That was much more challenging. Like physically you're uncomfortable, you're very hot, and then you're sort of like with yourself. So yeah, that was challenging.
It kind of it makes you I guess appreciative. You know what that feeling is like, and now you know what this is like, right?
Yeah, that that too. When I left, we spent a few days in Quito before coming back to the States. And I remember we went out to a salsa club, and I was just dancing like crazy.
Hey,
Yeah, it was really nice to dance after all that time.
yeah, definitely. I want to
Yeah.
so let's go back in time then. So you go to Guatemala, and I guess that's kind of where you get the love of dancing. What happens, I guess, after college and everything?
Yeah. Okay, so after college, I started working for a travel company, and I spent the first year doing a few different things for them. So I actually ran a dance program in the Dominican Republic for 3 months, which was really cool. I was working with high school students. Um, and then from there, I spent some more time abroad. I was in Southeast Asia working for the company. And then I spent some time in a sales position traveling throughout the States. I had like a route, so we were in the car a lot. And after about 9 months, I realized I would try and take dance classes here and there. I would go out to socials. Like if I remember being in DC and like, finding a social and going out and dancing. But I really felt like it was just very hard. It was so much travel.
Okay.
And I knew that I wanted to be in a place where I could like go to a studio every day and like really start to train. So I moved to San Francisco in May of 2013. And yeah, the day I bought a one-way flight and I found a sublet. I like get to the apartment, I unpacked the one suitcase I have, and then I went to the dance studio. And I my coach and director out there, his name is Luis Aguilar, and I'd like looked him up. I had seen him perform about a year earlier. I knew I really wanted to be part of that team. Yeah, and I started training with his training team first and going to classes. And I started working with him one-on-one. So I was working on a pro-am routine. And then, yeah, I spent 2013, 14, and 15 out there dancing. And through my director, Luis Aguilar, I met his dance partner, Anya Katzifman, who also became my dance coach. And then I spent a summer in New York in 2015. And this is where I really learned how to social dance. That summer, I was very fortunate that my job was very flexible in terms of where you work. So I was still working at the same company this entire time. But I asked my boss, like, everyone knew that I danced. Everyone was really supportive. And I said, I want to spend 3 months in New York so that I can take classes and train out there. So they let me work remotely for the summer. And I took classes. I trained with Anya. I did another pro-am routine with Christian Tabora, who was dancing with Balmir at the time. And then I was doing coachings with Anya and going to classes. And I literally went to socials Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday,
Okay.
Sunday.
Yeah.
And by the end of the summer, it was crazy. Like I went back to San Francisco and I could actually follow and dance with people that I hadn't been able to dance with before. And that was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds
Yeah,
like you put a lot of work in though.
I did. Yes, I did. Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. So you were part-time dancer, right? As well as you had your own part-time job. So yeah.
I was working full time. Yeah, I was working full time for this company all the way up until October of 2018.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
I recently saw your 2019 World Salsa Summit in Miami, right? I
Yeah.
saw your
Yeah.
performance there with was it Hunter? I think is that who you performed with?
Yeah. So Hunter
And that
Head.
was yeah, that was a really good performance. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was really
Thank
good.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. That means
Did
so
you
much.
did you did you win that one or like second place? What happened?
We won the Rising Star
Okay,
division.
Rising Star Bingo, right?
Yeah,
But you competed in a lot more stuff though, right?
we did. Yes. So I really believe that when you compete, you should compete in as many categories as you
Yeah,
can.
yeah. I saw you had a lot more
Yeah.
categories.
Yeah. Because, if you think about it from like just a purely strategic standpoint and also financial standpoint, like you have all these sunk costs, right? So if you're going to go to a competition, you have to pay for your flight, the pass,
I
the
understand
hotel,
that. Yeah,
the food.
yeah.
So like if you go to the World Salsa Summit and you just do one event, you're spending all that money to do one thing for two
Right.
minutes,
Sure enough. Sure enough.
right? So even though yes, you have to register for more categories, like that cost versus the cost you're already spending to go to the event in general really is so small. It's definitely worthwhile. And what I've always found, and this is from my very first competing pro-am, competing as an amateur, doing am, um, the more you get a chance at an event to go out onto the stage or go out onto the floor and compete, every single time that experience is different. And it's really like it's great personal growth and like growth as a performer and an artist to like have to go out on stage and bring out this energy and bring out this performance and bring out that drive and like that competitive fire every single time. And the more you do it, the more comfortable, the better, the easier it becomes. So
I
yeah, we
definitely understand
competed
that.
in lots of things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious. So I say for myself, I was actually on a performance team myself, and I really didn't. It wasn't like I guess my passion. So I'm curious, why do you like performing so much? Do you rationalize that at all? Like what,
Yeah.
why does that make you happy? I guess speaking if you verbalize that.
Yeah. So I think part of it is, um, I do love to dance and even talk about dance. Like I was so excited to get on the phone with you today because I feel like something inside of me just lights up when anything with dance is involved.
Yeah, 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 sure enough.
Yeah, yeah. And so as a performer, when you're able to like really be in when I'm able to be in my love of dancing and my love of movement, I think it's such a cool experience to give that to the audience. It's hard too, right? Like
Definitely,
there's
yeah,
been
yeah.
lots of situations where I haven't been able to do that. It's something I work on every single time. And I used to think like, oh, okay, I'll figure it out, and then that'll be it. I'll be able to do it every single time, and it's not, right? All these other things come into play. But that's such a like very powerful experience, and I think about the times I've watched performers and just felt something so magical, um, that just changed the way I felt in that moment, or changed the way I did something the next day, or inspired me. I think that those are all really powerful things to experience, and I love being able to do that on stage. Or strive to do that on stage.
Right, right, right. I'm
Yeah.
curious. Does I know you get anxious and nervous. How do you deal with that though? Like that
Yes.
5 minutes
Yeah.
before you go on stage.
It's always like 5 minutes right before stage. I'll be warming up. I'm so calm. I'm like, okay, okay. And then like we're backstage and I can see, I'm in the curtain. I'm like, oh my God. So, I mean, and that's another thing I think with performing, but especially with competing. And I think competing and performing feel very different. Um, I, I think that generally as human beings, we look for some type of adrenaline rush. That's like a very natural human thing. And there are lots of ways we get that in life.
Right,
I
right.
think dance and competing is like a very healthy way versus like going out and, taking a bunch of shots with your friends. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, for your body, it's not the best choice,
Right,
perhaps.
I understand. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So I think that there are different ways we can look for that rush in life, and dance is one of them. But yeah, in terms of dealing with so that's a really cool part, is like coming off the stage of a great competition is like just this thrill that I went skydiving once. Like that was quite an adrenaline thrill, but like competing is just like that and more. It's really,
Okay.
really, it's
All
really
right.
cool. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. In terms of dealing with like anxiety and nerves, right beforehand, I really try and focus on breathing. So taking these like really deep exhales actually helps. If you are with your partner or with a team, I really believe in like staying very close to them, physically close to them before the show. So if we're backstage, Hunter and I will always sit next to each other. We're like hugging and like or like holding hands right before we go on, like just developing that connection. If you're doing a solo, it's even harder because it's just you
Oh man,
on
that's
stage.
very difficult.
Yeah. Um, and the other thing I do is I visualize the show that I want to have on stage, right? So I try and get myself in that mindset of seeing, like visually seeing myself walk out on stage, doing these parts. We hit all the turns, we hit all the kicks, we hit all the tricks. And that sort of helps me focus on the show I'm about to have, um, versus how nervous I am in the moment.
Okay, now I definitely understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you. I believe this is not something I have to deal with personally, but I saw it on your website. Honestly, you
Okay.
had like this post about dancing in heels.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could you give me some advice on that, or if I
Yes,
can, in case I
yes.
ever want to?
Yeah. I mean, learning to dance in heels was one of the hardest things. And in that post, I think my first year I must have spent like $1,500 on shoes. Like I was,
Okay, just trying to find the right pair.
yeah, and I would be so frustrated. I was
Wow.
like, and I didn't have that kind of money. I was like running up my credit card because I was like,
Yeah.
I had this idea that if I just found the right pair of shoes, I'd be able to dance. And like, I couldn't do this because of the shoes. Yes, it's true. Finding the right pair of shoes for your feet is really hard. You need to break in shoes. I learned that I didn't know when I started that you should buy dance shoes like a size smaller, a size and a half smaller, because they will stretch as you dance in them. All of our feet and our toes are shaped differently. Our heels are shaped differently. So you really need to look for the right fit. Not all shoes are created equally. Like, some are better for other people. Some are better for social dancing, some are better for performing. But the other thing was that, dance, and especially dancing, or even just walking in heels, requires a lot of ankle strength.
I believe it.
So much.
I don't have to deal with that, thankfully, but I understand.
Yeah, but it's all in your ankles. And when you don't have that strength, what I had to learn is that I had to develop that strength first. Before you can really dance in heels. If you don't develop the strength in flat shoes, or you don't strengthen your ankle also to move in the way you need it to move as a dancer, you'll never be able to dance in heels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
I want to I'm kind of just jumping everywhere, but
Yeah.
tell me about, I guess, how do you prepare for a performance? Like, where's your mind at?
Yeah. So I always really try and do something that day or that evening that makes me really happy. So like I love really good coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, I love really good coffee. So maybe if I'm at an event, and the weekend's really crazy, maybe I don't have time to like sit down for a meal, but I'll make time in the morning to like wake up and like go get a really nice coffee and just sit and drink my coffee by myself and like enjoy it, so that I'm already going into the performance later that day in like a positive headspace.
Okay, yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And then, when I started dancing, I hated all of the hair and makeup. And I was like, there's so much makeup. Like, every day I like maybe put on like blush and mascara and like that's it. And I was like, this is so not myself. And now I'm like very into doing my hair, doing my makeup. Just because it's such a ritual of getting ready for my show. So yes, it's about my hair and makeup and like getting ready for the show and being performance ready, but it's also time with myself to really like just enjoy the process, enjoy the fact that I get to go and do what I love, right? Like how cool is that? Like I'm gonna get to dance, I'm gonna get to do performance. Like I love this. I try and focus on just all that I love about it, so that I'm in a really positive energy space before the show.
No, I understand. That's awesome. Can you I guess for even performing as well as like the social dancing, tell me how important is, I guess, dancing with confidence? How important is that?
Yeah. I mean, I think very important. I always say to people, when you love, my students too, when you love what you're doing, everyone else around you will love it. And in that point, it doesn't matter if you have no technical training or you've been training for 20 years. Like watching someone love what they're doing trumps all of that.
It's kind of infectious, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why you never know what's going to happen in a competition, right? Like you never know, because that's at the end of the day what I think is often like the je ne sais quoi. Like that's something that like a performer has, a competitor has, that you can't really like quantify, but it just grabs you. And so I think like, yeah, it takes practice. It takes practice to be confident in our movement when we're still learning. And also it takes, and I wrote about this too, but it takes putting aside these like limiting beliefs we have and these ideas that we have that like we're not good enough, and being like, you know what, I am enough right now. And yes, when I leave, I can keep working on my ankle strength. I can keep working on my balance. I can keep working on how I feel the music. But just listening to the music in the moment and letting your body do what you want it to do, that's confidence.
Yeah.
And that's so important. Yeah. And any point in your dance journey. And I think about a lot of it in, I work in marketing as well. And I worked full time in marketing for a long time. And the professional confidence I had came down to that too, right? Like if I just like let myself do what felt right, it was right, and I had so much more confidence, right? And as a manager, I started managing a team very young, and I was one of the younger women at the company who was managing a team, and that was really hard for me. I felt a lot of pressure to change a lot of things about my personality, from the way that I love glitter and sparkles. So I'd have like, glittery nails or like earrings with sparkles on them. And I'd be like, oh, at first I was like, I can't do this now that I'm a manager. I need to dress a certain way and speak a certain way. And I often have a bubbly personality, right? Like I get very excited. I've never heard like a male leader be called bubbly before, like, so those sorts of things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not going to be excited and all the time, but I learned how to use that as a strength. So how to like motivate my team with my energy. That was something I didn't have to hide. I could channel it in that way, right? And I could channel the other parts of my personality that are very organized and are very much like, okay, we're doing this and we're doing that and we're doing that. And like, let's go right now. Like that could serve as a strength in other situations. And I think that that's part of confidence too on the dance floor, right? Like there's nothing about you that you have to change. Like you speak to different parts of yourself for different moments. And then that comes into it comes into who you are. And like in that way, you're very unique. Your dancing is going to be very unique.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I definitely understand that. I want to ask you, well, I guess let's just go right into this. I want to kind of switch things up on you, all right?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you these really quick questions, and I want you to try and answer them as quickly as possible, all right?
Okay.
We'll say like 5 seconds less, all right?
Okay.
So, if you could meet anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Michelle Obama.
All right, sure, no. What is your favorite thing to do outside of dancing?
Sitting in my, like, writing in bed or reading in bed.
All right, sure enough. Why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side.
All right, simple as that. What is the best gift you've ever received?
My manager sent me a really nice coffee grinder when I was very stressed at work one time, just to be nice.
That's awesome. That's cool. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
I would love to be able to like teleport myself, like just like be like, oh, I want to go there and just get there.
Hey, that'd be really cool. That would be
with clothes and with anything I need to get there.
I get you.
Yeah. Like my stuff would come with me.
What is one item you could never live without?
Ooh, chapstick.
Hey, I like chapstick too. I need chapstick. As a child, what did you want to be growing up?
I think I wanted to be a pop star at some point and also like a writer for a magazine.
Okay, sure enough. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Yes. Just keep going. Like, do you and just keep going.
Hey, sure enough. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Someone once told me that in a relationship, you should feel like with your partner, you guys are stronger together.
Okay.
And if you don't feel that way, then maybe take another look at your relationship and why or who you're with.
Sure enough. What is, let me ask you the opposite of that then. What is the worst piece of advice you ever received?
Oh, God. Yeah, that I had to do something. So like if it was, within marketing, you can do like growth and acquisition marketing, or you can do brand marketing. And I was told very early on in my career that if I wanted, to be successful, I had to do growth and acquisition. Whereas like what I love is brand and the creative part of it. And like it's not true. Like you can be like a VP of brand or VP of creative if that's something you want, but there's no like cap in the way that.
Okay.
And like I have to say, I think so many people silently told me that I wouldn't be where I am right now as a dancer. And the worst thing was always hearing, when I would talk about dance, being like, oh yeah, that's such a great hobby. I'd be like, no. Like, it's not a hobby. Like it means so much more to me than that. Not that there's anything wrong with hobbies. Hobbies are amazing. I have other hobbies, but for me, dance is not one of them in that way.
Yeah. That's kind of like, I guess, a part of your life, right? More than that.
Yeah, it's a part of who I am.
Yeah, definitely. This is the last one though, real quick.
Okay.
Let's say you're stuck on an island for 5 days. And you can only bring three things. What three things are you bringing?
Three things. Music,
Hey, so no.
some kind. I'm gonna bring three things. Maybe like a really good book that I'd want to read over and over again.
Okay, so no. It's only 3 days. I understand. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess you kind of already did this, honestly. You were on Amazon. That's pretty much the same thing.
Same but different. And can I bring coffee? I would love coffee.
Definitely. Yeah, sure enough. Yeah, sure enough. That's perfect. I would say, you answered all those questions perfect. Great, A.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I want to ask you this. You've been dancing for a long time. You've experienced so much in your life. Um, what are some things that you learned from dancing that you're able to translate to your everyday life?
Yeah. I mean, what I said about just like loving what you're doing and knowing that if you love it, that's the only reason you need to do it.
Mm,
I think that's been a huge thing for me in all parts of my life. When I think about how I spend my time or who I spend my time with, um, trusting yourself. I think you really learn how to do that in dance, especially social dancing is great for that, right? Like, there's never a right or wrong way. It's like trusting yourself, especially when you're just dancing on your own, you break out for shines. Um, I think dance has also taught me how to be a better, like, romantic partner and friend, and in general, how to build much greater, deeper relationships. I think even when you dance on a team, you get this, but I always have had like a partnership, whether it was like a pro-am partnership, an amateur partnership, not my professional partnership with Hunter. And there are so many ways that, kind of like your best and worst qualities show up in a partnership, right? It's a very intimate thing. It's like kind of, um, in some ways you're running a business with this person, in some ways you're creating with this person, in some ways,
yeah.
you're spending all this time together.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, and that has really helped me, learn to communicate better, learn to like be less judgmental of the other person, be less judgmental of myself, of kind of like sit with myself and give myself time, give them time, um, and yeah, it's taught me a lot about like who I am and the type of person that I want to be.
I definitely understand that. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like I said, at this point in your life, uh, how would you define success for you? Like, what is success to you?
Yeah. I think success is knowing for yourself that you are making the right choices for you. Um, yeah, and I think that can be hard. I think that can especially be hard in somewhere like New York, where there are all these distractions and things and people to like keep your time occupied that may not actually be what's like aligned with your true self. And um, it takes a long time and it's hard to figure out what that looks like for you, right? Like I said, like it's different for everyone. So I think if you can do that, you know what that looks like for you, and then you can fill your life with the time and experiences and people that really fill you with joy in that way. And granted, like even when you do that, there's still going to be days where like you wake up in a bad mood or something happened and you're just like, crying on the subway for no reason. Like those things still happen. But the more that you can do that, I think like that is really success.
Okay, so enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna I guess I kind of want to get back towards dance if we can.
Yeah.
For people who are beginners and they feel like they might be stuck in a beginner's rut, saying like they might not be improving or anything. What advice could you give them? Like
Yeah.
how can they get out of that?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is give yourself time, right? Like, and practice. A dance teacher once jokingly said in a class, like, I make so much money every year because you guys don't practice outside of the studio.
So,
But
no.
it's true, right? It's true. You really have to to practice. And I think that as a beginner, you don't quite understand that, or at least I didn't understand that, because it had been a very long time since I was in a situation where I had to practice something, right? Like, and we think about our professional careers, or like when you're in a more corporate professional environment, you are practicing every single day by just showing up to work and like doing the responsibilities in your job title. And so I feel like as an adult, especially if you're learning how to dance, you have to like practice, I would say like every day, but definitely like every other day consistently to see any progress. And then remind yourself that progress takes time. Like think about your first day in your job to like a year later and then 3 years later. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me, you know, what did I do? And I said, like, I danced every day. Like, I took privates, I went to group classes, I went to socials. Like, you can't expect to show up to a social, take the class before the social once a month, and then, like, see a lot of progress in your dancing. Like, you're not going to get better that way. Sometimes no, all the time, we are also our biggest critics. And it's hardest for us to see progress. So I also always encourage people, like, go back, film yourself, right? Go back and watch a video from 3 months ago, from a year ago, from 5 years ago. And with dance, you can visually see that progress. Again, if you dance 2 years ago and then you went out to a social for the last 3 weeks, you're not going to see a lot of progress, right? But if you're doing consistent work, then I think just really trusting that it will happen, which was really hard for me. Like, I didn't trust that it would happen. I really did not appreciate the journey, even though everyone was kept telling me to. You have to figure that out on your own, right? And it's a process. But yeah, with dance, you can see the progress.
Yeah, sure
And
enough,
practice,
sure enough.
keep practicing.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask you this. Is there one tip you can give me that can make anyone a better dancer immediately?
Yes. Go see my coach. Go see Anya Kasavin. She's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, she really is. I mean, I think in general for beginners too, like private instruction is very important. And I think in any way that you can add that into your dance training, you'll see progress, because a teacher who's teaching a group class has to focus on everyone.
Right.
And that's challenging. And with group classes too, you know, you don't know who's going to show up to the class. So you're constantly sort of like just
You have to
serving.
teach it down to everyone, right? It maybe dumb it down, or it's not
Or yeah,
tailored
you're
to you
trying to
though.
serve, right? You're trying to give everyone something to take away from the class.
Right.
And like technique is super important, and like these principles can be explained. But another thing that I found, and one of the reasons why I love my coach so much, is, you know, learning to dance, I think if I had been a child or a kid, a teenager, would have been different than learning as an adult. Because as an adult,
Of course.
you know, we think so much, and we, or maybe this is just the way I learn, but I'm very like a cerebral learner, right? I like really, my teammates used to tease me because I would like literally take notes and I would write down, okay, 5, 6, 7, there's a back break on the 7, like then turn. But that's how I learned, right? It's like reading it would process it in my brain. And so you need to find instructors who understand how mechanically our bodies work and how we can use the muscles and the different parts of our bodies to make different movement. Just because someone can do that so well doesn't mean they can teach it, right? And as I started
That's a big
teaching,
deal. Yeah.
yeah, I've had to learn how to not just do it, right, which is what I was focusing on, well, in my training, but also explain it to someone, so that they can do it. And Anya's really great at that. She
That's
is.
awesome. Yeah. I would say I think it's like 3 different things. It's like you have the ability to perform, which is its own separate thing. You know, the ability to social dance, which is its own separate thing. The ability to teach, which is its own separate thing. Like none of those things, just because you can do one doesn't mean you can do the other. So you know
Yeah,
you have to practice at it, improve each one of those skills in itself.
right. Yeah, they're all different. They're complementary, but they're all different. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is like, in the moment, the one thing you can do is listen to the music.
Sure enough.
Yeah. And even if we think about, when you're like at a bar and just like a beat comes on, like slowly everyone will kind of like start moving to the beat. And like if you were to be in that situation and keep listening to the music, eventually you'd be like, okay, I'm kind of bored with this. I'm going to do something else. Like, you know, people often say that like creativity comes from boredom. So like do less, and then naturally you will start to do more. You'll start to play
Okay,
more
I
with the
get you. And I
music.
understand that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's really cool. I never heard that. I like that.
yeah.
I want to ask you this. I guess what upcoming events do you have going on in your life? Are you performing anytime soon or teaching?
Yeah. So I'm actually starting a performance class, a performance team. We're starting in like 2 weeks. It's June 17th. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to be performing in New York and then hopefully going to a couple events in the fall as well. And then Hunter and I are doing a couple of shows in New York in June. And then we're headed to Momboland, Montreal, doing a show at the beginning of July. We're heading to Providence as well this summer. And we'll also be performing and teaching at the New York Salsa Congress over Labor Day weekend.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I really want to say, I want to thank you for just taking time out to talk to me. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you so much. No, thank you. It was really great to talk to you, and I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me ask you this real quick. How can people get in contact with you? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yes. So you can follow me, add me, message me on Instagram. It's at Brielle Friedman. My website is briellefriedman.com. You can email me, hello@briellefriedman.com. And then my blog is Vitamin B. It's vitaminb.blog. And I also send out a monthly newsletter. So if you'd like to sign up, you can do that through my blog or my personal website.
Hey, sure enough. That's
Yeah.
awesome. See,
Yeah.
like I said, I really do appreciate it. I really, really do appreciate that, Miss Rio.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much for having me. And
Hey, of
I love the
course.
podcast. It's really been cool to hear so many conversations with different artists, and I love.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
I really appreciate that love as well.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, thank you so much, and I'd say just enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, take it easy.
Bye.
That's all it is. Hey everyone! If you made it this far to all the way to the end of the video, I want to thank you so much. My overall goal with making these interviews and these episodes is to give a voice to dancers. To give them a platform to speak their story. So, if this is of value to anyone, then that means the world to me. My overall goal is to give value to the dance community. So, if you find no value in this, then I urge you to please let me know where I can improve on. I truly want to, just give value and content to the dance community. So please let me know how I can improve, where I'm messing up, because to be 100% honest with you, I'm learning along the way as I do this. I truly am. So to be able to interact with the dance community, it means the world to me because it gives me feedback and it lets me know what I'm doing right, where I can improve upon, what I'm doing wrong, which I feel like might maybe more important. So please, if you all could comment and just let me know what you think, it means the world to me because that feedback just helps me improve. So please comment as well. Please like and subscribe. That means a lot as well. But I want to say thank you so much for just watching this because it means the world to me. I want to take you on this journey of the Two Left Feet podcast. I'm very excited for it. So once again, thank you so much.